We're moving out on another episode of Military Collectors. This week, the great folks in the state of Georgia, they call it Cairo. No pyramids down there, but it is one of the premier restoration sites in the United States. We are moving out this week on another episode of Military Collectors. Stay tuned, we'll see you there.
31 ready to check. Roger that.
Well, on our show this week, Military Collectors is in Cairo, Georgia. No, we're not looking for syrup, and there are no pyramids down here in the great state of Georgia. But what we have found is one of the jewels of the Southeast, and a guy that, well, I tell you what, that we really feel is an unsung hero for all of the veterans out there, past, present, and future, Russel Deese with Russel's Military Vehicles and Restorations. Russel, thank you so much. God bless you for all you've done for, gosh, over 32 years of history, and as a young boy, Russel's Military Restorations, you're renowned. Tell me just a little bit about it. We've got to share this history, because I think it's important that folks know the credibility of whom I've got with me today.
Well, not to put on any airs, but this started out as a hobby, and hobby just basically got out of hand. I was baling hay and raising cattle, and in an old barn across the way, I just was fixing up my old Jeep. Well, I sold that old Jeep. Well, I didn't know who that Jeep guy that bought it was actually the mayor of Orlando. So he came back to me with that same Jeep. He said, "I'd like that Jeep to look really good. Could you do it?" I said, "Yeah, but you got money?" He said, "A little." So he gave me carte blanche and says, "Restore it." I said, "Wow." New to this thing about restoring, I was a young kid. He said, "I want it fixed right. Do you know how to do it?" I said, "Yeah, I know how to do it. I read the manual before I've looked at the Jeep." He said, "Anyway," so we restored it, and he says, I can hire anybody in California to do it, but I want a nobody to make him somebody to restore my Jeep, because I don't want no credit given to anybody but me." I said, "You got it." So it started out, and I just restored that one Jeep. I ended up restoring about 7 vehicles for him, including the GPA, which is at the D-Day Museum, and then people got wind of it, and next thing you know, here we are.
Well, you know, what's so unique is back in the 40s and the 60s, your dad had a junkyard, okay? And, you know, in southern Georgia, northern Florida, around there, man, there are a lot of these vehicles out there. And, you know, as I've driven across the Southeast, one of the unique things about South Georgia is this is quail country, okay? Exactly. What's that got to do with military Jeeps? Well, all of the plantations out there used to have the 38s, some World War II, 38A1s, M151s, and they all made bird buggies out of them.
Exactly.
So you're right in the heaven, and it's not all about Jeeps, but that's what's around us.
Well, we're right in the middle. In South Georgia, we have Fort Stewart, we have Fort Benning, we have Albany Logistics Base, we have Eglin Air Force Base. We're right in the middle. And that's how these plantations always had kids are at these bases, and they says, "Dad, I got a Jeep out here I bought." So they came back and congregated into a 50-mile radius, and they're here. So
they are
still in the barns. They're still out there. And there's a unique way of how I found them. I said, I'm gonna start buying Jeeps. And this is very quick, but very nice, poignant story. So when we first started finding Jeeps, everybody said, "Well, how do you find them?" I says, "I put a finder's fee at the UPS office." I said, "Not everybody listens to the mailman, but they listen to the UPS man." And he has purchased my Jeeps for me, and I gave him $50 finder's fee for every Jeep that I found. So that's how it started, and from there it's history. So,
well, you know, Russell, I will tell you, so unique is this business. Okay, it's not just about Jeeps for you. I know that's a passion, but you have done some movie props, okay, and some restorations for movies, which I really think is really interesting in today's business. When people see either a restored, modified, or whatever, they see a military vehicle on there, 9 times out of 10, it's coming from you.
In Georgia, or Florida, or Alabama, yeah, we have filmed Fast and Furious 7. We furnished 15 vehicles for them in Atlanta. They used rented Fort Gillem, the old Fort McPherson.
Yeah.
And then the Hunger Games, they picked up a couple of vehicles for us, the old Unimogs, and X-Men First Class, which was filmed on St. Simon's Island.
Okay, I still want to talk movies and movie props, because I know that's a big part of what you do, besides all the rest of the things. I mean, again, military trucks, you do armament, I mean, all that. But let's talk specifically about this piece of equipment. Right. I was on active duty when the military made the transition from the A2, which is the M151 Jeep, to the Hummer. And tell us about this particular Hummer, okay? Because this one has a special history.
This vehicle right here, the 998 Hummer, it's probably been filmed more than Betty Davis. It has been on so many movie props. I mean, it's been in Fast and Furious 7, it's been in Hunger Games, it's been in several other different movies that I'm not allowed to divulge right now. But yes, this is a very popular, even though you put one together, they all look the same. This particular one has been on a trailer going to Atlanta many times. So it's used in several different shows.
Well, you know, and again, walking around one of these, for a lot of folks that don't realize, this is a utility vehicle that's used now by all of the services. They're fixing to basically phase this one out.
Right.
And in service of another light attack vehicle.
Right.
So these are readily available on the market out there, but off-road use only.
Off-road use only. So a lot of people call us, they say, what am I going to do? I said, well, you got a great parts vehicle, or do you have a big farm?
Yeah.
Because you remember 7.5 feet wide, the pig trail, ain't going to happen.
Nope. No, but it is probably one of the most durable vehicles that the military has ever had. Yep. What it lacked, actually, on active duty in the early years of the Gulf War, the first one, was armament protection.
Exactly.
Okay, of course, they upgunned them after that.
Right.
Then they found out after they modified them, they got too heavy. Then it wore on the drivetrain and stuff like that. So,
and Bob, one other thing that we tell people is for every 1,000 miles you put on it, you will basically spend about $1,000 on it
there you go.
in maintenance.
That's true, yeah. So, again, this business is not for the lighthearted, okay? And I'm not trying to discourage folks, but folks, in our next segment, I'm going to talk to Russell and get his advice for all you wannabe collectors and all of the folks out there that own a piece of military history. And like me, you love it. We're going to talk to the expert here because, again, this guy's got probably 40 plus years of experience in this business. We're going to talk to him about the most collectible vehicle. We're going to talk about different types of restoration, and we're also going to talk about appraisals. What's it worth? Well, folks, welcome back to Military Collectors. In this segment, I really have to pick the brain of an expert, and Russel Deese is here with one of the specimens. Now, again, restoration's his business. That's what he's earned his living at and his expertise. And we have a specimen here, Russell, that you're working on. I mean, and what I want to talk about today in this segment, I want to talk about from an expert, what does motor pool ready, frame off restoration, and trailer queen mean, okay? Because again, a lot of folks don't understand it, okay? It gets a pretty paint job, we cover up a lot of this and that and the other thing, it gets in and crank. Oh, I've got a restored Jeep.
Yeah.
And you see them for sale like that all the time.
All the time.
And what I want us to make sure that we point out to all our viewers out there is, first of all, know what you're buying.
Right.
Know what restoration means, okay?
Right.
And when you go look at it, always look at it. Then you can make an assessment, okay?
Exactly.
Just don't read some description online, okay?
No.
Okay. Now, I'm going to shut up and let you talk about, because you are the expert.
Well, many people will buy a Jeep off of eBay, and the first thing they do is ship it here. Russell, restore my Jeep. And I'm like, okay. And so they bought an M38.
Right.
They get it here, and I call them back, and I say, you just bought Johnny Cash Jeep. They said, Johnny Cash Jeep. I said, you know the song, don't you? 57, 58, 59.
Building it one piece at a time.
It was built by everything and owned by 15 farmers.
Oh, my goodness.
So they get it here, and it's actually a CJ3A. Not the same animal. And so everything is wrong. Everything, from front to back. So when we get them here, the first thing I do is evaluate them, let them know serial numbers. First thing I look at, contract numbers, frame. Is it exactly what year?
Right.
Because there's a difference between a 51 and a 52. So I let them know what they have.
Now, this one here is a 38. What model of year is it?
1952.
It's a 52. Okay, so this is one of the later ones.
Later ones right here, yeah.
All right, now, off frame, you've taken the body off. You're in the process of taking the engine out and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So tell me a quick once-over process that you go through with this one.
Well, this started out, he said, I'd just like to get it running.
Right.
And so we got it, found out that it had 2 or 3 burnt valves and had a hole in the piston. And he says, well, it ran 35 years ago. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So we found out it didn't run. So we ended up pulling the head off of it, found out there's an issue with the engine. Then we get underneath it, there's rust all through the body, hat channels, everything. So he started out with just get it running. And then after that, I said, there's a little more issue than that. We'll have it run, but I hate for it to break in half with you. So we evaluate the body. Now we're fixing the body. We fixed the chassis, transmission, engine. And so this started out as just a
motor pool.
Motor pool, get
Right.
it ready, paint it. And then he says, I really want to do it right. And I says, well, get ready. Because getting it done right requires, and on the average, to restore a Jeep, frame off is 300 hours. I've narrowed it down.
Wow. Okay, Russell, we've talked about frame-off restoration. We've talked about motor pool ready. Now I want to talk about Trailer Queen versus restoration, okay? Because again, there's little tricks to the trade here. When somebody gets to sell something, okay, really to you as an appraiser, as a guy that makes his living in this business, what does the restoration piece versus the Trailer Queen mean to you, either as a buyer or somebody who's called you to recommend that you give them your opinion?
First thing I ask guys, what do you want to do with the Jeep? Do you want to have fun with the kids and put the dog in it? Or do you want to put it inside of a glass case and look at it for the rest of your life?
Right.
And then when you die, somebody else gets to have fun with it, because they will. A restoration is something that you can use. Get out there and get it dirty. I mean, it's been around for 60, 70 years. Get it dirty, have fun with it. We can always wash it or refix anything that's broke.
Right.
So I like a restoration. The repair is good because you can always go back and restore it. The Trailer Queen, the one you can't touch, it says don't touch me. People shy away from that. I mean, there are a lot of people like that, but they're disappointed, very disappointed after 2 years of owning it. They says, I've had the carburetor gone through, the brakes are gone through. Fuel and gas and brakes is a constant going down. It is better to drive this thing every day, every week. Get it dirty, doesn't matter. The character's there. I love a restoration, but drive it for 10 years, restore it again or repair it again. But the Trailer Queens, I've done them. The people are eccentric, and so you have to handle it that way and talk about it like it's a woman or it's a female, and don't let no one touch it other than you.
Right.
And I call them the Mona Lisa. We'll do a Mona Lisa, but I like to do the restorations, and that's where you need to be. And as far as value of them, they're worth what a man will pay or a woman will pay.
Well, you know, and I want to stop you right there, because appraisal of this business, okay, like the muscle car business, okay, because, you know, this is really an unsung business out there, okay? I mean, yeah, this is kind of one of them underground things that a lot of people do. I mean, just check out a lot of the forums. Gosh, until I got involved in that, you know, a year or two ago, I had no idea. But when you talk about values of these things, again, you're exactly right. But when somebody asks you, all right, Russell, I want you to tell me, when you get this done, will you sign your name to what is this thing worth? A, insurance purposes, okay?
Right.
Whether it's Haggerty or some collectible insurance company, that's the first question they ask you.
Right.
What's it worth?
Right. Well, the first thing I look at is the engine. I don't look at the body, I look at the engine. That's cast iron. Bodies can be repaired, replaced. This is cast iron. For instance, this particular Jeep right here, wrong engine. Nobody knows the difference. That's a CJ2A engine. Serial number should be MC such and such and such, matching the body. This is a CJ2A engine. The serial number, and this is actually where the serial number is on this one. So I look at the engine. I want to make sure, well, they've just changed the engine. So to me, that's the first thing a restoration guy like me was going to go look at. First thing he's going to do is not look at the body, look at the wheels, look at nothing. He's going right here. I want to look at these serial numbers.
So it does matter on engine match, transmission match. Okay.
Yes, to the purist.
Right.
And now to the guy that just wants to have fun with the Jeep, like this guy, they just want to have fun with it. 99.9% of the people, when they open the hood of the Jeep, they don't, what is that? It's a 4-cylinder. Their serial number doesn't matter. It does to a guy that's going to appraise it. And I can tell you the value, if the motor was the original motor, it would increase the value $4,000.
Wow.
That's how much the...
Well, you know, on all of mine, of my Jeeps, and of course my 37, again, I drive them, try and drive them every week, and so I do the same thing that you do. But the big thing for me is I'm not a mechanic, okay? I rode in them for years, okay? That was my life for 21, but I am not a mechanic, and so I want one, when I get in, it's ready to roll.
Right.
It cranks, it goes.
Right.
I don't want to have to be working on it, okay?
Right.
Now, some people, they love doing that.
That's right. Well, the one thing I'll tell them is, you don't know anything about the engines? No, we do some things for them. We put electronic ignition so they don't change the points. You don't have to worry about setting the points. We put upgraded oils in them. We do a lot of other things. We put additive to the fuel, rubbing alcohol or transmission fluid if you can't buy non-ethanol fuel. If you add that to it, you'll longevity the fuel in it and the fuel system.
Exactly.
Ethanol will eat every rubber piece from the carburetor back.
Exactly.
Our featured email this week comes from Bill Westerholt from Seattle, Washington. Bob, I have a non-firing M60 replica machine gun with all the accessories that I use for parades and static displays. These are getting hard to find. Mine has all the original parts with the exception of the receiver group, which is milled from a solid block of aluminum. Great for display and conversation. What do you think the value might be? Bill, the value range for your replica non-firing M60 machine gun would be from $6,000 to $9,000. Thanks again for your email. If you would like to have your military restoration project or collectible featured on the show, just send an email with your photos to photos@militarycollectorstv.com.
Roger that.
Well, welcome back to the show. We're in Cairo, Georgia, and we're still talking military vehicle restoration here with my good friend and I tell you what, longtime historian, and that's Russel Deese. And we're going to talk about your personal collection, okay? We saw what it looks like before and for one of your clients, and now this is one of your personal M38 restorations. But, you know, before I turn you loose here, there's one key thing that has to happen in a restoration, and you've taught me that, and that's you got to take the lipstick off the pig.
Exactly.
And you've got some guys that'll do that. And tell me a little bit about that, and then let's talk about this Jeep.
Well, to get one to looking like this right here, it's preparation, 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 preparation. So as good as you get that preparation, it's got a blank canvas, and you can do some good work. But there's a lot to it. You know, first the integrity of the vehicles there. I don't want any rust on it. We don't use Bondo. We use what we call lab metal, and it's a lead filler. So, and I've learned that from my dad, who was an old timer, and I know how to smelt lead. So we use smelter, and I have the old tools. But to get it to this position, this was a labor of love. Nobody hired me to do it. So there's things on this that's more correct than what most folks have.
Right.
Everything. So.
Well, now to get back in the preparation piece now, you've got some guys that work with you, Southern Eco Blasting, and David and the guys there have got a new machine that takes years of labor off, okay? Tell me a little bit about that machine and how it helps in the preparation phase.
Well, used to, I'd use the old sandblaster, the old sandblasting pot and 160 pounds of pressure, and you got to this metal, you would warp it. And a lot of people get warpage. You don't really realize it, but this Southern Eco Blasting, it's an amazing machine. It will, you can actually put your hand right here and blast between the fingers.
Wow.
It's amazing. But it takes it down to the better metal, but it keeps that water vapor there to keep the integrity of the metal there. And it's just a phenomenal machine. Cuts my labor 2/3.
Well, the good thing about it is, A, it's good for the environment, and B,
Right.
I mean, the media that he uses is not sand where you're having to inhale it, worry about it.
Exactly.
You know, that's the bad thing about sandblasting is, man, I mean, it's in a white cloud of smoke. It's worse than a horse in a dust storm.
Yeah.
All right, Russell, we've taken lipstick off a pig, and now tell me the specific history about this vehicle, because I know it's special to you, but let's talk about this M38. Okay, and this is a 51 or a 52?
51. This is 51.
Okay.
And the M38 is my personal preference of military vehicles, of all military vehicles. Lowest production military vehicle, 68,000 produced. The M38 has, this particular M38, I restored for Colonel Bob Hagan, Fort Benning, and spent carte blanche, and no reproduction parts, all original parts out of Fort Benning. So once we put it all together, it took me a while to do it. In his passing, we actually took his coffin to the gravesite on the trailer with this Jeep, and I was able to drive it. So I was the ultimate pallbearer. At his death, they left this to me in his will.
Wow.
And I'm looking for a good museum that's worthy. I don't want to use this in any other way, but I want it to outlive me. And so, but this is my first personal Jeep. It's dirty, but it's used, but this is the most original M38 you will find out there in this country.
Well, and you know, that's an interesting point that you make here, and we kind of talked about it a little bit. For all of us that have these vehicles, you got to start them, you got to run them, you got to drive them,
Exactly.
okay? I mean, I know I love to look at it, and I love it to be clean and all of that, but they're made to be used, okay?
Well, I look at it like the fire trucks. You know, you see these fire trucks inside these buildings, they're just sitting there.
Yeah.
Every week they have the fireman come in, and what's he doing? Cranking them up, run it through the motions, run that pump. You have to do that. This has a pump. You have to run it through it. Drive this thing. Either crank it up, run those wheels, get the grease on the top side of the bearings. So I always tell everybody, use it or lose it. So you need to drive it.
There you go. Well, God bless you for all you've done. This is a special 38. I have a 51 as well. I love driving it.
Right.
Okay, it is just a great running vehicle. And with that, folks, we're going to be talking more movie props and sets with this guy right here, Russel Deese of Military Restoration Vehicles, right down here in Cairo, Georgia.
Military Collectors is brought to you today by GovPlanet, your online auction site for government equipment, by Chevrolet. Chevrolet, find new roads. And by the South Carolina National Guard Museum. Discover the Palmetto State's military history.
How's it going?
Hi.
Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck.
Awesome.
All right, let him drop. Let's see how the aluminum bed of this truck held up.
That's a good sized puncture.
That's all the way through for sure.
Full on crack here.
Hear aluminum now, you're gonna go, ooh.
Let's check out the Silverado's steel bed.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple dents.
I'd expect more dents.
Chevy clearly held up better than the Ford.
That's this episode of Military Collectors this week. But before we go, I've got to ask Russell about these two cut V's behind us. We've talked movie props today. That's a big thing of what he does. Russell, tell us about these and where they're going to go, and probably somebody can see them on TV or in the movies.
We build military props for these movie corporations out of Atlanta, and so we build them here, ship them to Atlanta, and various shows, movies, whatever they use them for, and they're custom built to their specifications.
Wow. Well, listen, God bless you for all you do. And folks, I tell you what, if you want to log on and see some of the great work and see what he's even got for sale down here, or you have something you want him to fix, restore, whatever the case may be, just log on to generationjeep.net and Russell's Military Vehicles right down here in Cairo, Georgia. I got to thank you again. God bless you. And folks, we'll see you next week on another episode of Military Collectors.